What is up, my kin? My name is Kin Ping, but you can call me Kin. And today I've got another Rakarth video for you guys. So as usual, if you haven't seen the videos leading up to this one, or at the very least the video before this, I suggest you go and watch that just so you know what's going on. As always, as well, there are rules down in the description telling you about everything that's going on. Also, as a little side note, I'm sorry if I sound a little stuffy. I've had basically a cold for a little bit, so I might sound a bit stuffy throughout the video. Anyway, so we are doing pretty well overall. Well, especially down here where we've been taking out Tehinawan and his faction. I can't remember what the faction's name is. A Prophet something? I'm not exactly sure. But we've got Rakarth's army here. We just had a decent fight with Tehinawan, and we're going to go take the rest of his settlements out, basically. So, obviously, decided to keep going on the warpath and take out more of Tehinawan's settlements, because why the hell not? So I decided to take this place. Crushing defeat, though. And I did not want to play a siege battle, so I just decided to continue sieging. And then up here, Helen. I was wondering what to do with him. I decided to keep him there for now, though, and I had a right to do. So it was no-brainer to perform that right. And now I just had to decide what monster I wanted. And it took a while for me to decide. I wasn't actually sure what I wanted, but I was leaning towards the dragon, because I thought I had a lot of other monsters. I might as well just take the dragon, and boom, dragon. So that was awesome. I now had a whole lot of monsters in my beast pen if I even needed to recruit stuff instantly, which I probably would. So during the end turn, Tehinawan's forces rallied out, and I figured that obviously I wasn't going to win that. The garrison was okay. It wasn't really strong, but with my army now, I probably couldn't fight it. So I decided to retreat, and I'd have to heal before I wanted to do anything else. At the start of turn 46, my settlement got a plague, which came out of nowhere. I don't know where that came from, but I also went to check on the blood hall. As in the very end of last video, we saw that the Huntsmaster's expedition had finally launched their assault on my territory, and they were just sieging the blood hall. Obviously, I was just going to let them do their thing, because the longer they spent there, the more time I had to, get my forces strong and just, make sure that I would be ready to fight these massive Empire armies that were going to come at me. So I managed to get Rakarth into some healing, which was good, because his army was really nice, but he really did need the healing, especially after that fight. He was all battered and everything, so I just needed to give him the healing. I decided to move Helen up a little bit just to see what I was dealing with, because as well as the Huntsmarshal, we also had the Bretonnians here, and it was only a matter of time before they declared war on me. That was very obvious. So I wanted to be cautious and see what was going on over there if they were leading up to a big attack, but I also wanted to, not go too far away from my settlements, because if Helen got caught, he was dead. And then on that end turn, the Huntsmaster's expedition finally attacked, and I figured that it would be kind of fun to play, but there was no point actually playing it, because I wouldn't do anything. I certainly wouldn't do anything that would matter in the long term. Even if I'd taken one of their units out, they would have just recruited it back. So I ordered that, and guess what? Turn 47, Marcus Wolfheart was right there at my doorstep. I had not been expecting this at all. He was in forced march, so I was hoping he wouldn't be able to get to the Chamber of Visions in time, because the garrison, while it was still decent, it wasn't as good. And sadly, I was trying to move Helen in, but he just couldn't make it. I'd made him move just that tiny bit too far that he now couldn't get in normal march. Obviously, this wasn't much of a problem, right? If I wanted to, I could just force march him in. It just meant that I couldn't recruit any of the Harpies that I could recruit now, seeing as I'd rather use the Harpies I can recruit than the monsters from my beast pen. I decided to move Rakarth all the way up. I figured building my garrison at the Dust Gate to hold off the lizard men would mean that I should be okay moving Rakarth's army up. I figured that the Skaven would probably give the lizard men, well, the Henna faction, a lot of trouble. And then with Hullen, I decided I gotta do it just to be safe. I gotta recruit every single monster I have just in case the Hunts Marshal can get to the Chamber of Visions, and then obviously I force marched him in. At the start of turn 48, I got a cool buff called Raiding Season, which I'd never seen before, but it looked really cool, so I was like, sweet, I'll take that. And then I saw Marcus Wolfheart in the water, and I was wondering if he was going to go towards the Golden Ziggurat. That would not be nice at all, so it was a no-brainer to start bringing Rakarth up now. Even though the Lizardmen posed some threat, the Skaven would probably deal with them, and I needed Rakarth's army up there immediately, because I would rather have Rakarth fighting the Hunts Marshal than Hullen. On my way up, however, I saw that the Dwarfs were back, and they had an army of miners as well as their one settlement, and you know, they were looking pretty weak, and I was wondering if maybe taking them out would be a good idea or not. I mean, it'd give me a lot of money, that's for sure, and taking the mine of the Bearded Skull would probably give me lots of good gold mines and income. So I was keeping that in mind. If things kind of died down over here with Hullen, I could probably afford to start taking out the Dwarfs with Rakarth. So with Hullen, I decided to recruit some Harpies as well. My income was getting really low, but I figured it was worth it just for that extra defense. Hopefully the AI would just stay away and not mess with me. And then a bit of a disaster happened. At the start of turn 49, the Cult of Sotek confederated with another Lizardmen faction, and I was not sure what to think about that, because I was starting to wonder if the Skaven could actually handle them. Marcus had pissed off, which was good. Maybe they were having trouble somewhere else with like orcs or something. So Hullen had a good couple of turns before Marcus could even reach our lands. So I was hoping that that was enough time for me to maybe get some more monsters or bring Rakarth up or something like that. Anyway, back with Rakarth, I wondered what I was going to do. The garrison at the Mine of the Bearded Skull was pretty weak, and their main army had gone off to colonize some ruins. The Skaven were at war with the Dwarfs, so I knew that declaring war on the Dwarfs, I could get some decent money out of the Skaven. So I decided to do that, because you always got to get money out of someone when you're declaring war on someone. If you don't, you're doing it wrong, you really are. So Rakarth launched his attack on the Mine of the Bearded Skull, and it gave me a Pyrrhic victory. I didn't really feel like fighting a siege battle against dwarfs, of all things, so I decided that autoing it probably wasn't a bad idea. I wasn't losing any units, which was really good, and that miner army didn't pose a threat, really. So I won it, and then I decided to sack it for the money. So I was sitting on a lot of cash right now, and I could do some raiding as well. And I was healing a tiny bit. It wasn't that much to actually make a difference, but the healing was good. The money allowed me to fortify the Dust Gate, which was the settlement I had on the Lizardmen Frontier, basically. That was my Lizardmen Frontier one. So I was making sure to build that up as much as I physically could. And then at the start of 250, I got a War Hydra. Another War Hydra for Rakarth's army, possibly. But that was pretty awesome to get that War Hydra. I was just rolling in monsters at the moment. I really was. I was so happy that I had so many cool monsters. I decided to move on with Rakarth, and with Hullen, I slowly crept forward to see what was going on with my enemies. Because I was basically considering Bretonnia as an enemy now. We weren't officially at war, but we basically were. As soon as I got close to them or something like that, they would take me out. So it was pretty obvious Bretonnia was not an ally. I also decided to upgrade the Great Turtle Isle, my capital, finally getting an upgrade so I could move my big monster units into my main settlement and actually get more use out of them. At the start of turn 51, I moved Hellenford into Empire land, I think, and started raiding. I figured, why not? I might as well. There were no armies around, so I might as well raid. Didn't really matter if it was Bretonia anyway, because, you know, basically at war, so I might as well raid them. With Rakarth, I decided to attack the Mine of the Bearded Skull again, and this time I occupied it. Because I figured, like I said before, I needed the money and everything.
Show neither mercy or restraint. Another day, another throne. For current
On the start of turn 52, my technology popped off, giving me more income, and I got another War Hydra. This surely was the day of the War Hydras. I was really, really happy. I can't express how happy I really was. Anyway, I chose another technology because, you know, I had to keep the technologies going if I was ever going to actually make some good progression. Dark Elf technology, I think it's okay. Honestly, I'm not a really big fan of the Dark Elf technology. I think my favourite technology tree is definitely the Bretonian technology tree. I love playing Carcassonne, and I think their technology tree is the best in the game. Anyway, I was now next to Gorok, basically, so I had to be a bit careful around there too. So I was going to move Rakarth forward, but I decided to just move him back, let him heal up, because though the Dwarf's army was just a bunch of miners, it'd probably be better just healing a bit. And then during the end turn, I figured out who were proving a threat to the Hunts Marshal. It was the Blue Vipers, and they were coming to me for money. Well, I was getting money out of them, they were coming to me for military access, so I gave it to them. If enemy of my enemy is a friend, basically. So I was hoping that the Blue Vipers lasted long enough, maybe, for me to get an alliance out of that. Because who knew? Maybe they had monsters I could recruit. I don't know. I'm not all too familiar with the Greenskin roster. And then with Rakarth, I decided to get another Hydra. That was awesome. The feeling of having two Hydras in one army for some reason just felt really, really good. I don't know why, but, you know, eventually I'll make it 3 and then it'll feel even better. But that was good, and I continued building some buildings at the Dust Gate. And then, even more monsters. I got 2 Saber-Tusk packs. I was getting monsters constantly, and it was very, very cool. But Marcus Wolfheart was coming close, so I decided I'd put the raid into a stop now. I'd got everything I wanted, really, and I'd move away. But when Helen stopped raiding, Rakarth started raiding, and Rakarth came down to start destroying the dwarfs. And on the start of turn 55, I saw Marcus was actually coming to destroy me, so I quickly retreated to the Chamber of Visions. I was not going to let him catch Helen by himself, that was for sure. There was no way I was going to be able to get Rakarth up as well, so Helen just had to hold the fort all by himself. I figured he could do it, you know, especially I had another Hydra in the monster pens if I needed it. So I figured Helen would stand a decent chance because he had a good garrison with him as well. And here Rakarth attacked, and I actually had the Skaven and his allies for this battle. So I decided this would be a great battle to do, just because, you know, why not? We haven't seen dwarfs yet. So I hope you guys enjoy this cinematic. And there you have it. It was a thrashing. We lost no one. Yeah, I just thought that would be cool. Doing battles, the land battles, are really fun. Skaven weren't actually in it much, but I thought seeing some dwarfs would be cool because we've like just seen lizard men and dark elves, so I thought, you know, you might be interested in that. Anyway, I now had the province, the Spine of Sotek, which I figured if the name had anything to do with it, Cult of Sotek might want, so I was going to keep Rakarth around there for a little bit longer, because, like I said before, I figured Helen had the Turtle Isles, so, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, my kin.